In this video, we're going to have a look at ordering fractions. To order a set of fractions, you first need to make sure that they have a common denominator. That means that the number on the bottom of your fractions has to be the same. We can achieve this by timesing the top and bottom of our fractions by the same amount to get equivalent fractions. In our first example, if you have a look at the bottom of the fractions, we have the numbers 5, 10 and 20. We need to find the lowest common multiple of these numbers. That is the smallest number which is in each of their times table. For this example, we can use 20 as our common denominator. So I can start by writing each of my fractions out of 20. Now, the last one is already out of 20, so I can leave that as 11/20ths. Next, I need to think about what I need to multiply my original fractions by to get them out of 20. So my first fraction, 3/5, I can times the bottom by 4 to get it out of 20. And my second fraction, 7/10, I can times it by 2 to get it out of 20. For my fractions to remain equivalent, I need to make sure whatever I do to the bottom, I also do to the top. That means I also need to do 3 times 4 on the top of my first fraction, which would give me 12, and 7 times 2 on the top of my second fraction, which gives me 14. As the fractions now have a common denominator, they are far easier to put in order. By looking at the tops of my fractions, I can see that 11/20 is the smallest, so that's going to be number 1. 12/20 is second, and 14/20 is the biggest. The last thing to do is to write my fractions in order. However, I need to remember to write them in their original form. Assuming I want them in order from smallest to biggest, that means my first number is going to be 11/20. My second number is going to be 3/5, and my final number is 7/10. And that is all of the fractions in order from smallest to biggest. We can do the same in our second example. Looking at the bottom of our fractions, I know that 12 is a common multiple of 2, 3, 6 and 12, so that is going to be our common denominator. That means I can start by writing all of my fractions out of 12. Because the last number is already out of 12, we can leave that as 7/12. For the other fractions, I need to think about what I need to multiply the original denominator by to get it out of 12. So for 2/3, I need to times the 3 on the bottom by 4 to get it out of 12. For 5/6, I need to times the bottom by 2. And for 1/2, I need to times the 2 by 6. Now, working out the tops of my fractions, I know 2 times 4 gives me 8 for my first fraction, 5 times 2 gives me 10, and 1 times 6 gives me 6. Now they have a common denominator, I can look at the tops of my fractions to help me put them in order. So the smallest fraction is 6/12, followed by 7/12, 8/12 is third, and the biggest 10/12. As with before, I can now write my fractions in order of size, and I need to remember to write them in their original form. So, assuming I want to go from smallest to biggest, that means my first fraction is 1/2, second is 7/12, my third fraction is 2/3, and my final fraction is 5/6. That is my fractions in order of size from smallest to biggest.